and welcome everyone to today's session, which is about comparative and superlative adjectives and adverbs. We're going to look at their functions and formulation, as well as some exceptions and common mistakes. But first of all, a very brief reminder of what we saw in our last session. We looked at adjectives and adverbs and discovered that adjectives describe someone or something. For example, question 1 was easy, that's an adjective. And the main function of adverbs is to describe an action. For example, I could answer question 1 easily. Now, from here, we go on to see what comparative adjectives and adverbs are. These adjectives and adverbs compare one or more things, people, or actions with each other. For example, we say question 1 was easier than questions 2 and 3. Or I could answer question 1 more easily than questions 2 and 3. Here we are comparing one question with 2 other questions. What about superlative adjectives and adverbs? These compare one thing, one person, or one action with every other one in the group. For example, question 1 was the easiest question in the test. Or I could answer question 1 the most easily among all the questions. Now we're talking superlative, right? So you've already seen the formulation, but let's go over it together. We have 2 ways of formulating these adjectives and adverbs. One category, one group, is formulated by adding ER and EST to the basic adjective or adverb. And there are 2 categories here. The first one is all one-syllable adjectives and adverbs take ER and EST. For example, calm, 1 syllable, calmer, calmest. Big, 1 syllable, bigger, biggest. Hard, which can be an adverb or an adjective, harder, hardest. Also, the second category that takes ER, EST is 2-syllable adjectives that end in the letter Y or the sound E. For example, happy, happier. Angry, angrier. Lovely, lovelier. So although they have more than 1 syllable, they have 2 syllables, happy, angry, lovely. Because the last sound is E, we add ER and EST. So remember that point. Now the other group doesn't take ER, EST. They take more or most before the basic adverb or adjective. And the main category is multisyllabic adjectives and adverbs. So more than 1, especially 3, 4, etc. So colorful, 3 syllables. Economic, 4 syllables. Cautiously, 3 syllables. Therefore, when we form the comparative or superlative, it's with more and most. More colorful, most economic. More cautiously. The other group that must always take more and most are participle adjectives, even when they have only 1 syllable. Remember from the last session that participle adjectives are adjectives or adverbs that come from a verb. For example, amaze, populate, tire, hurt. Now, it doesn't matter how many syllables, they always come after more and most. More amazing, most populated, more tired, not tireder, most hurt, not hurtest. Right? So be careful with this group. Right, that's for formulation. Let's look at some exceptions. So the first group of exceptions is irregular comparative and superlatives. And there are 3 really common ones you need to know. One is good. So it's good, not gooder, but better, best. Well, which we use when we talk about our health as an adjective. Again, better, best. Well as an adverb of good, again better, best, and also bad, bad and badly, they are irregular. So it's worse and worst for both of them. And the other one that you need to remember is far, which is both an adjective and an adverb, and it's not farer, it's farther or farthest. But in British English, we usually change the A to U and say further and furthest. So that's exception number 1. Exception number 2 is there are some common two-syllable adjectives that can take either form. So you may hear politer or more polite, cleverer or more clever, gentler or more gentle, quietest or most quiet, simplest or most simple. So these are the 5 common ones. But be careful that if you have a two-syllable adjective or adverb, usually adjective, and the second syllable is a suffix like full, less, or ous, us, it's always more and most. So more and most, useful, harmless, jealous. Next one, exception 3. These one-syllable adjectives, these 5 that I have written here, are not commonly used in comparative and superlative forms, but if ever you hear them or want to use them in these forms, although they are one syllable, they take more and most. Big exception. We don't know why. So it's never righter, but right, one syllable, more right. Wrong, one syllable, more wrong. Real, one syllable, more real. Fun, most time. Ill, most ill. Now, having looked at the exceptions, I'd just like to finish by pointing out one little thing about the difference between fun and funny, because I often hear mistakes with these. Fun is an adjective, it's a noun as well, to have fun, but it's also an adjective which means enjoyable, pleasant. For example, it was a fun event. For fun, although we've just seen, it's one of the exceptions, it's not funner, it's one syllable, but we say more fun, most fun. Funny has a different idea. Funny means it's something that makes you laugh. It's amusing. For example, she tells funny jokes. And for funny, remember the rule, if your two-syllable adjective funny ends with the sound E, it's E-R-E-S-T. Funny, funnier, funniest. Okay, so that's all for the exceptions. Let's look at some common mistakes that I've come across. Sometimes I hear some of you say both ER and more, or both EST and most. One is enough. So don't say question 1 was more easier than question 2. Question 1 was easier. ER is sufficient. Or we worked the most hardest yesterday. EST is enough. We worked the hardest yesterday. So this is quite a common mistake, actually. I don't know why. The second one, I usually hear this from Spanish speakers, is using a comparative instead of the superlative, saying things like, this is the more beautiful object I've ever seen. Be careful, this needs to be superlative. This is the most beautiful object I've ever seen. Next one is using that or as instead of than. This usually comes from translation, from your own language. So is question 1 was easier than, not that or as question 2. Remember that. But if you want to indicate sameness, not difference, then you can use as with the basic adjective or adverb in the middle. Question 1 was as easy as question 2. 2 more. Sometimes I hear you use both the and a possessive adjective before a superlative adjective. Don't say this is my best score. They don't come together. If you have my, the disappears. This is my best score. Now, a little note here about the word favorite. The word favorite doesn't look superlative, but it has a superlative idea. It means most liked. So avoid putting most before the word favorite. Again, a very common mistake. It's not this is our most favorite song, this is our favorite song. The last thing I want to mention, just so that you don't get confused, is that the word most is sometimes also used as a formal synonym for very. It's quite formal, but in this case, because it just means very, it's not superlative, there is no the. You use the when it's superlative. You may hear, her reply was most unexpected. It's a bit emphatic, a bit formal. He always behaves most politely. Right? So this is a different idea of most. Now, there will be other cases when you can drop the before a superlative adjective or adverb, but they are rare, and you can, if you want to, drop them. I don't see any point in learning those. It just complicates things. So if you're using most or est for a superlative idea, always use the word the article the, with your adjective or adverb. Okay, that's it for this review of superlative and comparative adjectives and adverbs. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. For more on this topic, click here. Remember to also check out my complete online course, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching and happy studies!